Hello everyone. If you are looking into buying property in the near future, then this video is for you. So the first part, I want to talk about registration and transfer costs, and then maybe in the other parts we'll go further into loan repayments, interest rates, and so forth. But also please do note that I'm not a financial advisor, so the advice that I'm sharing with you is from personal experience and Google. Alright, so let's get into it. So the first thing that you need to know is that there's a difference between a transfer and a registration cost, and you need to pay both. So I know most of the time when we're searching on Property 24, we'll see some properties that say no transfer duty, like this one over here, but I'll also explain what that actually means. But let's talk about what a transfer cost is. So transfer cost is essentially the fee that you pay to the conveyancers for switching the house's ownership from the seller to you. So it's essentially you paying them for facilitating the whole process of you buying the property. Then you have a registration cost, which goes to the deeds office for moving the name of the property from the seller and registering it to your name. So the transfer fees differ from company to company, but by not a lot. The biggest contributor to the price difference is the value of your property and the whole arrangement of the property. Is it a standalone house? Is it an apartment? An apartment complex, and so forth. And so does the registration cost. So that also depends on the type of property. Where is it? Is it a standalone? But it also is usually pretty standard based on the value of the property.
So this is how you can use Property 24 to calculate your bond and registration costs. So you will just search Property 24 registration calculator, and then you will come over here where it says bond and transfer calculator. So this is a detailed breakdown of your bond registration costs and your transfer costs to a total of 46,150. So because this is an estimate, this can be more or less. So for your bond registration costs, you have your bond registration, and then you have your bank initiation fee. So this is a once-off fee charged by the banks to open a loan account. This fee applies to natural persons, so natural persons being human beings. In another video, I will talk a little bit more about the bank initiation fee and how I think it would be best for it to be charged. And then you have your deeds office levy, and then you have your postage, petties, and other application fees. So this is where it really varies depending on the company and the type of property you have. Like I said in the beginning, whether it's in an estate, a gated community, whether it's a flat, whether it's a standalone home. And then you have your total property transfer cost, which is your property transfer, your deeds office levy, your transfer duty, which we will talk about later on, your postage, petties, and other application fees. So I also went to another website, Adams and Adams, where we can be able to see in detail what these different costs actually mean, and in their company how much it would cost you if you were to purchase a property of 500,000. So as you can see, the first one that we're looking at is the transfer cost calculator, bond registration cost for the same property value, 500,000. I like this one because it gives you a more detailed explanation of what the actual costs are for.
So let's talk about transfer duty. So there's a difference between transfer duty and transfer costs. So you have a transfer cost, which I have already explained, and then you also have a transfer duty. But a transfer duty applies to properties of a certain value. A transfer duty is essentially tax that you pay when you are buying a property.
So as you know, tax is paid to the government. So on your Google, you can just search SARS transfer duty and then come over here. So here you will see exactly how much property will incur taxes. So anything from 1 rand to 1 million 210,000 will not incur any transfer duty. And then anything from 1,210,000 upwards will incur a transfer duty. So let's make a practical example of what this actually means. It says that 3% of the value above 1.2 million. So let's say the value of your property is 1.5 million. You will minus the 1.2 million and get the 3% of that. That means you should expect to pay 8,700 in transfer duties towards your property. Having had said that, it is very important to understand that when you see the no transfer duty sign, it means that you will not be liable to pay taxes on the purchase of the property, which would be the 8,700. However, you will be liable to pay the 20,000 that we calculated earlier using our Property 24 calculator. I just also want to point out that there are instances where you will not pay the transfer costs, which would be the 20,000. However, this is for instances where you would be buying directly from the developer. You would not be paying the transfer costs, but you will still be liable to pay any registration costs and any attorney fees. But it is important for you to speak to your agent so that you can understand exactly which costs you would be paying. So I hope that this is a good basis for you to know the types of costs that you can expect to pay. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this was beneficial and educational. And if it was worth your 5 minutes, please do share it so that more people can be informed. And stay tuned for more. Bye.